The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. The Health Department reports nearly 7,000 new COVID-19 cases today. This pushes the country's total caseload to almost 1.1 million, 63,000 of which are still active. More than 10,000 patients have recovered from the disease over the past 24 hours. While 170 did not survive the virus, the total COVID-19 fatalities in the country is now more than 18,000. The daily average of new COVID-19 infections in Metro Manila slowed down by more than half since the surge of the peak. That's according to the latest data from the OCTA research. Data shows that from May 1 to 7, Metro Manila logged an average of 2,347 new COVID-19 cases per day. This is 58% lower compared to the daily average last March 29 to April 4, which prompted the government to reimpose the enhanced community quarantine or ECQ in Metro Manila and nearby provinces. This is also 27% lower than last week's tally. OCTA projects new COVID-19 cases in Manila to be at less than 2,000 per day by May 14. Let's talk more about this with OCTA Research Fellow, Professor Guido David, who's joining us over the phone. Sir Guido, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Riza.
Sir, what can we say about the reported decrease of the daily cases? Is this the result of the ongoing stricter lockdown, or is this an artificial decrease?
Oh, I wouldn't call it an artificial decrease. This has been actually several weeks in the making. So this is a product of the stricter lockdowns. We had a 2-week ECQ and 3 weeks MECQ. And the result of that is that community transmissions has decreased in the NCR, and that's why, as you mentioned, we're now about almost 60% lower compared to the peak number that we had. And if this trend continues, we hope to see less than 2,000 cases per day in the NCR by next week. But if it doesn't follow that trajectory, if it starts increasing, then we will have to definitely, there's something that's starting to go wrong with the trend if cases start to increase next week. We're not seeing that it's going to happen. In fact, as we mentioned, we're projecting a decrease by next week. It may be, the actual numbers may be slower than our projections, but at least we're fairly optimistic about the numbers that we're going to be seeing next week.
Professor, let's talk about the testing. Are we testing enough COVID-19 samples? And if not, what do you think are the factors behind the low testing turnout?
Well, yes. We did note that the average number of testing that we had over the past week is quite lower compared to the testing that we've been having over the previous weeks. In fact, we averaged about 21,000 over the past 7 days. But the positivity rate is good. It's only down to 15% now. It was as high as about 25% a few weeks ago during the peak of the surge. So it means that we are testing enough. We don't have, or at least I don't have data on the antigen testing. So I can't say, or I can't comment about the level of testing overall. But right now, we believe that there are still some laboratories which are still reporting a little late, and that's why the average is a bit lower compared to the normal average. But at the same time, we are testing a little less, even considering the backlog of reports from laboratories. We are testing less than what we were testing a few weeks ago.
Sir, what are the other areas that we are currently monitoring and identifying as hotspots?
Yes. Even in the bubble, we are concerned about Calamba in Laguna because we're seeing an increase in cases there. But generally, in the bubble, cases are decreasing, and even in Batangas and Pampanga, cases are decreasing. But outside the bubble, we're concerned about increases in Zamboanga City, in Cagayan de Oro, and even in Puerto Princesa. So we hope that these respective LGs will be able to manage these increases that they're having in their cities.
Professor, can you explain to us why, despite of the decrease of cases, why are we still seeing a high number of occupied COVID-19 ICU beds?
That's a very good question, Riza. And we are seeing a decrease in the number of occupied beds, but the ICUs has not really decreased that much. In fact, it has been increasing steadily over the past few weeks. We think that it's probably because there are more severe and critical cases now. And yes, you're correct. The caseload is decreasing in NCR, so we should be seeing actually a decrease in ICU occupancy. But we think that maybe, well, one possibility is that because of the variants, there are more severe cases now compared to in the past. That's just a possibility. Or it may be because we had a sort of a backlog in ICUs a few weeks ago, so maybe it's catching up. So we hope that the number of ICU occupied beds will start to decrease over the next few weeks, but we'll have to see first what happens.
Final question, sir. Is NCR Plus ready to shift to GCQ on May 15?
Well, of course, that's a decision for the national government. Personally, just my opinion, I believe that if the cases continue to decrease at the same rate that we're seeing right now, we could definitely relax some restrictions. So we don't necessarily have to shift to a lesser quarantine. We could keep the same quarantine level and ease more restrictions, open more businesses at capacities. But of course, as usual, we would caution the national and local governments not to do this, very quickly. A gradual easing of restrictions is always the best approach. It is calibrated, and we want to prevent a resurgence or a reversal of trend, which can still happen. We're still registering, more than 2,000 cases in the NCR and an average of about 7,000 plus cases in the Philippines. So that's still a lot of cases, and we have to be really careful about how we manage the pandemic. The trends right now look good, but it can change anytime if we're not careful.
As always, thank you very much for your time and for your insights. That's Professor Guido David of the OCTA Research Group. And we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. The provincial government of Sulu has temporarily banned the holding of Eid'l Fitr congregational or group prayers. Other public and private social gatherings have also been suspended following the spike in COVID-19 active cases in the province. The prohibition is stated under an executive order issued by Sulu Governor Abdusakur Tan Sr. Now, this came after a meeting and consultation with the Muslim religious leaders and concerned agencies in the province. Let's now take a look at the stories from around the world. Israeli police fired rubber bullets and stun grenades toward Palestinian youth amid growing anger over the potential eviction of Palestinians in the country. At least 178 Palestinians and 6 officers were injured in the nighttime clashes, according to Palestinian medics and Israeli police. Around 28 individuals were killed in a shootout during an operation against drug traffickers in a slum area in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Suspects tried to escape across rooftops as police emerged in armored vehicles and helicopters flew overhead. Now, this was the deadliest single police operation in the city. And a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin says most debris from a Chinese rocket will unlikely cause any harm upon re-entry on Earth. Debris from the rocket that was sent as part of a planned space station into orbit last week are expected to fall in international waters. Now, for more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.